So we are 7 episodes into Daredevil Born Again's first season at the moment, and I've been kind of keeping up to date with how people are feeling about it, especially on the places like Twitter and stuff like that, and just kind of gauging a lot of reactions for it. Now I've made reviews on episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 so far. I did make reviews for episode 5 and 6. They both dropped last week. It was my birthday last week, so I was a little busy last week. And then episode 7 came out yesterday, which I was also kind of busy. So this isn't necessarily a review for the episodes I've not done, but I kind of just want to talk about like general feelings on the season and if maybe Daredevil Born Again is a little bit more of a disappointing television show than we expected it to be. Also been catching up on some Daredevil comics at the moment. So, reading those, some pretty good stuff. Yeah, but I mean, just to kind of give general thoughts on the few episodes that I didn't review, episode 6 I thought was easily one of the best episodes of the show. Feels like a lot of people feel the same way. I was less warm on episode 5 than a lot of people. It was very standalone, very procedural-ish, very much an episode. It was a bottle episode, pretty much set entirely in one central location for the entire 40 minutes. And a lot of people have kind of been divided on that episode. Before the episode came out, a lot of the reactions from people who saw it were like, episode 5 is one of the worst episodes of the show. Brace yourself for that. I think it was like High Top said that episode 5 should have been just thrown out. It was so bad. A lot of people also liked the episode. A lot of people were like, yeah, this was really cool, just 40 minutes set in a bank heist and stuff like that. I mean, I felt weirdly on episode 5 for reasons that a lot of people didn't. I mean, the episode was set on St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is a big deal in Ireland. It's a big deal in America. The episode was very Americanized version of what Ireland is, where it was like Irish flags everywhere, bagpipe music playing the whole time. We had these bank robbers were Irish and they were doing it on St. Patrick's Day, which this is like the 5th time that Daredevil, between the old show and the new show, has insisted on making the Irish people their villains, which I don't really care. I mean, whatever. You got to pick somebody, I guess. May as well pick us. But it's just, sorry, I've got a cat here jumping up on top of me while I'm trying to talk about Daredevil, buddy. What are you doing? Anyway, I'll just let her do her thing. But the episode was just, to me, it just felt kind of weird. We had like just Americanized versions of Irish stuff, like the American cop said, "Why are you messing with my mic?" Anyway, we had American cops doing their thing. They were like making Irish jokes, and the whole punchline of the joke was that they were talking about Guinness. And then one of the characters from America mentioned Donegal, but they said like Donegal or something like that, some weird pronunciation. It just felt like a very this cat is obsessed with the camera for some reason. Anyway, it was just kind of a weird episode to me. I had no problem with the bottle episode stuff and the procedural stuff. That was fine. Even the stuff with Kamala Khan's dad, I thought was okay, if a little on the nose. The way he was holding up his Miss Marvel Funko Pop and stuff like that, it felt a little forced, a little bit like Reference City over here. But I don't know what she's doing. But yeah, it felt like a weird episode to me. Then episode 6 was very much focused on the Muse stuff. We finally get Matt becoming Daredevil again. That was really fun. And episode 5 seems to be easily the most negative episode reaction-wise that I've seen from a lot of people, where they're like, this episode is terrible. It's, Muse shows up and he's immediately dispatched, and there's a lot of stuff going on without a lot of setup and without a lot of reasons for things, without a lot of explanation. And to me, I feel like episode 7 was kind of quality-wise what we could expect from the show. I didn't feel like the quality had dropped much from that episode to the other episodes. Thought it was kind of the same. But this is bringing me to kind of wanting to talk about if Daredevil Born Again is a disappointing show so far. And I mean, I'm really liking certain stuff. The parts I'm liking from the show, I'm absolutely loving. I think some of the stuff it's doing and its handling is amazing. But as a whole, I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little let down with what they've shown us so far and what they've done so far. Like, we're 7 episodes in. We've got 2 episodes left, and we know that those 2 final episodes are going to be essentially the 2 only episodes of the show that are completely from the new showrunners and the new people working on the show. That everything else from before episode 8 and 9 have some parts that were from the new stuff, but a lot of stuff was like the pre-overhaul stuff. Episode 1 was another episode that was mostly done by the new people, but in general, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all were kind of a mix of some new stuff and some old stuff. But I think episode 5 was maybe the only episode that was almost entirely old stuff. But I don't know. I think we shouldn't be dealing with this situation where we're dealing with a messy show that we're hoping to wait and hope it gets better. I mean, it shouldn't be like that. We should just be experiencing a good show. Whether or not it's messy or not is another conversation, but the show should just be good. We shouldn't have to be slogging through old footage or watching this mishmash of different interpretations of what the characters are and who the characters are, waiting for everything to blend together in a proper way. Whether we were watching the old show, whether we were watching the new show, I feel like season one should have just been left as one of those visions, and then improve what you can for season two or change what you want for season two. But we shouldn't have to sit through a season of television that is very messy from behind the scenes stuff because it's too expensive to shoot new stuff to make it work. I think it feels very weird to me so far. And it's got me a little worried for season two because I've noticed that a lot of the stuff that people have been loving from the show has been related to the old stuff. Episode 5, like I said, a lot of people loved that, loved the format of that. That was almost entirely old stuff. Like, does this say that when we are finally watching the new stuff completely without any of the old stuff, it's people are gonna like it less because it's not the show that we were kind of told it would be? I don't know. It's just I've got a lot of mixed feelings on the show. And I mean, I said this in my other reviews where I was like, I hope that this is gonna be something that's good. Like, I hope it gets better, but I don't feel like from episode one we've necessarily seen a huge quality jump. Yeah, we've had some great stuff. Episode 4, 3, and 6 in particular had some of the best stuff of the show, but I don't think the quality is like insanely better. Like, episode 1 was extremely messy, but I don't think episode 1 is much different quality wise from 6 and 7. There's just varying degrees of better or worse, but it's not like a huge drop or a huge jump. It feels pretty consistently just okay to me so far. Like the Muse fight in episode 6, fantastic. But that was the final like 5 minutes of the episode. We had a lot of stuff before that that wasn't so great. And I mean, yeah, cool, they're nailing the fight scenes, but the dialogue scenes, the character scenes should be what is making this show work. Like, one of the things that I'm really surprised I'm not loving that much about this season is the Fisk and Vanessa stuff. Like, I think both Wilson Fisk's and Vanessa Fisk's storylines just aren't nearly as interesting or aren't nearly as enjoyable as they were in the original show, and just aren't really cutting the or reaching that bar of being something that I can't wait to see the next scene of. It's like almost anytime we cut to Fisk during this show, I've been like, okay, when are we getting back to Matt? When are we getting back to Muse? When are we getting back to even those corrupt cops? Like, I'm finding that storyline a lot more compelling than just the straight up Fisk stuff, which is kind of disappointing to me. And I don't know, it makes me a little bit worried about how they're going to handle this going forward because a lot of the Fisk stuff in this show was reshot for the new stuff, and I don't think it works extremely well. I'm explaining myself terribly in this video, but I do think that the show in general, it's definitely a mixed bag for a lot of people. A lot of people are loving it, thinking it's fantastic, but you can tell from the reactions to certain episodes that a lot of people are like, maybe waiting 8 years for a new Daredevil show, it should be a little better than this. And that's kind of my feeling as well, as it should be better than this. It's not bad. It's not, one of the worst Disney Plus Marvel shows, but it's also nowhere near the best of the Disney Plus Marvel shows. I'd probably put it pretty middle of the road in terms of those shows. Sure, some episodes are better than others, but in general, the storyline going throughout isn't exactly grabbing me, isn't compelling to me. There was a scene in episode 7 where Matt's talking to Heather, and Heather's the therapist character who Matt's now seeing his current love interest or whatever. And in that scene, which was clearly a new shot scene, she mentions Foggy and Karen, and she is like, "Oh, Matt, you're kind of a different person now," and stuff like that. And Matt's like, "This whole life feels fake. This doesn't feel like how I used to be. This doesn't feel like me." And a lot of people were like posting that scene on Twitter and saying, "Oh my God, look, this is the show acknowledging that Matt's a different person. The show feels hollow because Matt's life is hollow." No, that's you looking too far into things and trying to make up a reason for why the show, quality wise, is the way it is. They did not purposefully go out and make the entire season feel hollow just to make a point in one scene. They're not going to make a bad show so that Daredevil Born isn't bad, but they're not going to make a mediocre to good show just to make a point in an episode later on. That doesn't work because you're sitting through 7 weeks of episodes just to get to a scene like that. No, I think it's just maybe that's their way out of universe to explain it, but it doesn't excuse it. It doesn't make it okay that the show feels hollow and feels a little fake just so that they can, move on from it. We shouldn't have to experience a show like that. And I mean, yeah, I think in general, Daredevil Born Again has been a little bit of a frustrating experience to me, but also kind of a disappointing experience to me. Like, sometimes we'll get a scene like the Matt Frank scene in episode 4 that is fantastic and feels like a scene straight from the original, but a lot of the time so far, it does feel like it felt like a lot of the scenes just aren't cutting the bar of what quality wise we should be getting. That said, that does make me extremely excited for episode 8 and 9 when Frank is sort of back fully and the kind of scenes we'll get there. 'Cause it feels like, we heard that John Bernthal almost walked away from the original version of Daredevil Born Again because he did not like what the scripts were doing with his character. And that maybe says that quality wise, the Frank Castle scenes or the Punisher scenes in episode 8 and 9 will have to reach a higher bar because they had to get John Bernthal's approval almost to like justify making the episodes, and he had to be okay with quality wise what they were doing. So maybe we can expect something greater then. But also, it doesn't excuse the fact that a lot of the rest of the scenes of the show feel just like a little weird and a little off, especially a lot of the new characters. Heather, Cherry, Muse was cool until they revealed who he was, and then that sort of faded away. And I don't know, there's a lot of characters of the new characters that are clearly replacing old characters. They're not nearly as fleshed out. But that's also a problem with the fact we only have 9 episodes. The episode run times are far shorter than they were during the Netflix days. We could expect 55-minute to 1 hour episodes during the Netflix days, whereas on Disney Plus, we're getting 40-minute episodes with credits, meaning it's like maybe 35 to 37 minutes of content, depending on the episode. Not content. I hate when I call TV shows or movie content, but like 37 or 35 minutes of runtime of footage of the show. So we're missing like 15 or so minutes of actual stuff that's going on than we did in the old show, which also plays into the fact that that's why we're not getting to see a lot of extra scenes. Like if we got tons of scenes with Cherry, we got tons of scenes with Heather, they might work much better as characters than they currently are. But that's just the problem with streaming era TV, or I guess the era, I mean, Netflix was streaming, but I guess with the current era of TV, we can expect much lower episode counts, and the runtime kind of varies, especially on Disney Plus. You're lucky to get an episode on Disney Plus that has 50 minutes of just straight up stuff for the episode that doesn't include like credits and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, Daredevil Born Again. It is a little disappointing to me. I wish it was better. I wish it wasn't. I was enjoying it more. Seems like a lot of people are similar, where it's kind of getting a bit of a mixed reaction. Some people loving it, some people not. But in general, people are calling out the show a little bit and criticizing it a little bit more than I think people expected to. But also, I mean, it's a Daredevil show. It was following up one of the greatest television shows of all time. It was going to be scrutinized and criticized a lot more just for that reason. But we'll see. I hope episode 8 and 9 kind of cleans it up a little bit and makes the final taste it gives us something that doesn't leave us sour in the mouth, and something that makes us go, okay, I can't wait to see next season. I mean, I'm going to be there next season no matter what, but I wish it could be better. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. Are you disappointed in it? Do you think it's really good? Are you a little let down on it? Let me know all that sort of stuff. And thank you so much for watching. And if you're not subscribed, make sure to do so, or like and share. That's always a huge help. And again, thanks for watching, and have an amazing day.